I'd like to introduce today, we have Greg Sullivan, who's the Vice President of Information Technology for Carnival Corporation. He's going to be presenting to us a session on smooth sailing with Couchbase. One housekeeping note, this is going to be a tight session, so we probably won't have time for Q&A at the end of the session, but there are a number of representatives from Carnival that will be able to help us out afterwards at the end of the session while we're bringing in the next group, okay? So thank you. Greg, it's up to you.
Thanks, Art. So I'm here to talk about what we're doing with Couchbase at Carnival Corporation. I want to tell you a little bit about Carnival Corporation first. I have a very exciting job. I love what I do. We are the world's largest experience enterprise. Some people are a little surprised when they hear that, but I'll give you some data points to reflect that. First of all, we aren't just Carnival Cruise Line. We are 10 different cruise brands. We sail across the globe. We cover literally every continent on the planet. You may recognize some of these brands. Over in Europe, Costa and AIDA, Carnival UK, we have Australia, we have China, and various brands that sail throughout the US. We started as Carnival Cruise Line through 40 years of acquisitions. We have these 10 brands, and we are 750 years of combined nautical experience. That all comes down to, per year, we sail 12 million guests. We have 120,000 employees from 100 countries. At any given point in time, we have at least 220,000 people at sea. So one of my points I always make about all this is when somebody says, well, something happened on one of your ships. I said, yeah, think of a small city and what can happen in one of those small cities. You know, these things, 220,000 to 300,000 people at a time that we're tending to. Today we have 103 ships in our fleet. We're adding 19 new ships over the next 2 years. We visit 719 ports around the globe. We send people, our guests, on over 14 million excursions every year, and we represent 50% of the cruise passengers per year. There's some, besides our ships, we own the majority of the Alaskan lodges, if you've ever been to Alaska. And by the way, if you haven't, I highly recommend it. I made my first visit there this summer, and I will tell you it was a life-changing experience. Alaska is an amazing place, but we are the largest motor coach operator in North America. We own the most lodges in Alaska, and we also own rail cars and rail yards in Alaska. So if you come to Alaska and visit a lodge, it's probably one of ours, whether you came on a ship or not. So the reason I point all this out is we have to deliver a guest experience and compute at all these places, on the rail cars, on the ships, in the Alaska lodges, on the motor coaches, literally every aspect of our business. If you ask anyone at Carnival what is their job, they should all give you the same answer. The answer our CEO, Arnold Donald, says is we are here to exceed guest expectations when you're on your vacation with us. So we're very guest-centric. We've been working on new technology, which we call Ocean. That's acronym OCEAN, One Cruise Experience Access Network. And I'm going to tell you how we've built Ocean and our current state with it, and what we're doing with Couchbase. But basically, the concept is simple. We combine personalization, increased personalization with decreased friction to maximize the experience. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we do that. So we flip this around, where before in our business, your engagement with us was based on what you were doing at that time. If you were on the phone making a reservation with us, you encountered our reservation system. Once you've made your reservation, if you were planning your cruise, you experienced our website to do your cruise planning and so forth, and plan your excursions and pick your dining options and so forth. So we've turned this all around, and we've made all of those things, embarkation, and what you do when you're on the ship, aspects of you as an individual, you as a guest. So it's all about what we call the guest genome. And I'm going to show you a little video about that, our friend Mel. And this is give you some perspective on the kind of things that we're paying attention to with respect to Mel. So Mel's given us her personal preferences prior to her cruise or during her cruise. So we correlate all of that with how Mel actually spends her time when she's on the ship. And then we develop these things called experience intelligence tags. So it's experience intelligence is an important element of our program. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But we pay attention to where Mel is on the ship, where she goes, how much time she spends there, whether she lingers there, goes there and leaves there very quickly. So we have full location-based information about Mel on the ship. And this allows us to maximize her vacation experience. Just so you know, I'm also in charge of global data privacy at Carnival Corporation. And if you don't choose to have us know this about you, you can opt out of everything. So how do we do all this? There's a lot of tech in all this, and I'm going to dig deeper into as much of it as I can in this short amount of time. But it's a layered approach. We deal with we put sensors all over the ships. I'll go into that here just shortly. We pay attention, as I said, to where you are in the ship, and the way we do that is with this thing called a medallion. I'm wearing one right here on my wrist, this little thing right here. You can get before you cruise, or you can pick up at the station. This is a proprietary wearable. You can wear it on your wrist. You can wear it a lot of different ways. And this is how we know where you are on the ship, what you're engaged with, what you are experiencing at that moment. And I'll show you a little bit about how that works. So the medallion sits at the top of the chain. We add sensors all over the ship to know where you are and how you're moving about, where you're interacting with those. Those sensors connect to edge compute devices, DMUs. You can then, when you stand in front of a portal, a large screen on the ship, you can interact with it. We'll know who you are. And there's all sorts of things you can do that are informational, navigational, or entertainment, even gaming. So we can even distribute casino activities across the ship now. You don't have to just go to the casino for it. So it's all built and ready to roll. So we also have the greatest connectivity at sea. We've completely changed the whole paradigm for connectivity at sea. We connect not only to geostationary Earth orbit satellites, but also mid-Earth orbit satellites. And so we have the lowest latency, highest capacity bandwidth at sea, and we can distribute that capacity all the way down into your stateroom, because we put access points not just in the hallways and in the public areas like are on most cruise ships. We put one in every single stateroom. So how do we approach this? So the ship itself is a big physical object, and every room is like, we have a lot of engineers here, so you'll appreciate this. Every room in a ship is like a Faraday cage. No signal gets in and no signal goes out. They're metal boxes. Okay, so we had to put access points and medallion detectors in the staterooms. We even have them in the bathrooms in the staterooms. So you have access wherever you are. And so the way we look at this is kind of like the smartphone. You got the hardware at the bottom, which is the ship, this giant, massive, multi-hundred-ton object. The operating system for that ship is the xIOT platform that we built as part of the Ocean program. And then we deliver experiences on top of that. And I'll go into some of those in just a minute. And again, the medallion. So this you can get before you cruise. If you get this before you cruise, then your embarkation process is dramatically smooth. You just essentially walk right through. All we have to do is a facial recognition and do obviously the security scan like at the airport. And then you just get right on the ship, no more waiting in line. So dramatically streamlined the embarkation process. So I mentioned the Medallion is a proprietary technology. There's a tremendous amount of capability in here, multiple forms of near-field communication, and other yet to be enabled features, but it does a lot for us already, and we look forward to doing more. These things can be worn as watch, like I have it here, can be worn as a necklace, can be worn as a pendant. You can just put it in your pocket. You don't have to carry a cruise card around. It gives you access to your stateroom. When you walk up, you just put your handle on the door. It recognizes that it's you. Anywhere you are in the ship, it knows where you are on the ship, and so we can align experiences with you that are consistent with your desires, your location, and what you've already experienced on the ship to date at that time. So our first full ship is the Caribbean Princess. It is just about fully deployed. In the next week or two it will be. And some of the people that participated in the building of all this are along the back row there. And they have name tags like this one. So at the end, if you have questions, you can talk to them and me as well. But I want to give you a little perspective on what it's like to get a ship ready for the Ocean Medallion. So this has all happened so far to existing ships. We're just starting to do it with new ships right out of shipyard. I think our first one's about to come out. We have 9 ships that are fully ocean ready, and what that means is we've completely rebuilt and redesigned 2 data centers. We go on the ship and add 298 miles of cable. We put 7,000 sensors on, 4,000 access points, 3,000 door portals or more, 2,000 smart TVs, 100 or more public portals, and they actually get cranes alongside the ship and completely switch out the VSAT antennae. All that's done in less than 10 days. And it's one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in my life. If you ever have an opportunity to see it, it's really a cool thing. And the ships become, and all this is happening, by the way, while they're redesigning areas of the ship and changing all the carpet on the ship and painting all the outside of the ship and doing all the welding and everything else. We had one antenna we put these bigger antennas on that required reinforcement, and they have this little area where they could put the reinforcement, and so they had to get a welder. So they sent out an ad for tiny welder because you had to fit through a little hole to go in. And they found one, and he did it. From the guest perspective, how do they experience ocean? There's a lot of different ways. So this is, leading up the stack into our applications. So Play Ocean is the gaming side of all of it. Some of it is casino gaming. That's a big part of our business, but some of it's just gaming for fun. Again, you can do this across the ship on the portals, on your TV in your room, on your phone, on an app in the room, or at various stations throughout the ship, but completely frictionless. This is all I need to do anything on the ship. Any consumable, any gaming, any enjoyment, all of that. So Ocean View, I'll talk about right at the end, but that's our original content series. We have TV shows that are designed to get more people to cruise. Remember, cruising right now is less than 2% of the leisure market. And so what we want is that number to grow. The whole industry does. Ocean Ready, it gets you through the expedited boarding process that I just described. Ocean Compass is your navigation while you're on the ship, and Ocean Now is your service whenever you want something. What's different here is you don't have to go to the bar to get a drink. You can be sitting at the pool and get a drink. You can order it and on your mobile app, or you can beckon a server with your mobile app, and they will come to you either with the drink that you ordered. And even if you move, they'll find you. The technology behind all this. Apologies for the busyness of this slide. If you'll focus on the column that said 2.1, OXC is our Ocean Experience Compute. So we've been on quite a journey. We started open source community edition everything. But when it came time to, for our development cycle, but when it came time to scale, we had to move to enterprise editions and get full support. So one of the reasons I'm here today is because of the great support we got from Couchbase in that transition and through our production cycle. We've enjoyed the excellent services of Mr. Aaron Benton, who's back there in the corner. And if you're wondering if he might be available for your enterprise, the answer would be hopefully no, because we want more of him. But this will give, I won't go through each one of these, but happy to answer questions about them afterwards, but this will give you some perspective about how we've approached all this. We are a true, by any way you would define it, edge compute case. Our ships have 2 data centers, which are typically designed in some form of availability failover, not necessarily active, high availability at all times. These ships weren't built and designed for data centers. They're older than that, so we have to find rooms to put them in. They're interesting rooms, difficult to configure sometimes, so we do the best that we can. But to deliver everything that I just described to you, we need an intensely more amount of compute capacity, computing resources in pretty much every way you can imagine, processor, memory, storage, networking. So it's a big challenge. So we're actually undertaking an effort to evaluate the hardware edge solutions from the 4 major cloud providers right now, which are all fairly new to market. That's a program I'm also operating. Be happy offline to talk to anybody about that you like, but this is still the platform that we, compute hierarchy that we would take to it, upon which all of our microservices and applications sit. So this is gives you some perspective on what how we're getting from our development, QA environments all the way into production. So we've built a ship on land in Doral, where our corporate headquarters are. We call that ship the Doral Princess. And so we have all the QA stage, dev QA stage and production environments there. We actually have a satellite antenna there. We connect to the internet through the satellite just like we do on the ship. The only difference between that and a real ship is it doesn't move. So, but we build it to look like a ship. It's kind of a cool place. If you're ever in the area, I'd be happy to show it to you. But this will give you some perspective on how we do this. But on the ship, in a typical data center, we are now operating 245 VMs, over 300 terabits of storage, 9 terabits of RAM, and operating at high compute speeds. So we're doing a lot, so we need a lot. Oh, and I wanted to point out, so in the session we had last night with the Couchbase leadership, they were wanting to know what else we would like. And one of the things, so we're really keen on Dynatrace right now. It gives us the telemetry we need to not only operate, but work through our development cycle on all these applications. So Dynatrace is one of the important tools that we're using for constant level of proactive monitoring. So this is actually a picture of a visualization we have in our hub, what we call our XIH down in Doral, where we have complete visibility to all the ships. Those red and green dots represent density of medallions in that location. So the colors represent density. I'm sorry I don't have the legend up there for you, but that gives you, that's just a snapshot in time. If you sat there and watched that real time, you'd see the colors of those dots change as people move around. But that'll give, you can see people are in their staterooms, on their balconies, in the public areas, in the hallways. So that's one way we keep track of all this. How does all this look from the broader perspective? So right now, I said we're on 2 ships at sea. We're in the process of deploying the next, up to 9 ships right now that are ocean ready. Others are being prepared for it. We'll eventually deploy to the entire Princess fleet, which are 19 ships. Princess ships go all over the world. Eventually, we'll go to Australia. Yet to determine how we're going to deploy through the rest of our brands. We'll probably start working through that after our October board meeting. But the idea here is that these ships are connected at sea, and we are able to see across the ships as we deploy across our fleet. Just real quick in closing, if you watch TV on Saturday or Sunday morning on NBC or ABC or any of these other networks, these are an original content series that we have developed, kind of fun shows. We have more underway this year. They're all available also on many streaming services, and I encourage you to watch them. I think I have no time left.
You did absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
We
Art.
are at the end.
So, and again,
Greg, I do want to say thank you to you and your team for presenting today and for doing everything. And I know that you offered to maybe introduce or say hi to them at the end and maybe answer some questions out in the back.
that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.